recruiting-ish. Web3, world-class podcast. Let's get it, let's go. The topics of discussion you cannot get from another. Opportunities in Web3, we got you covered. Metaintro, been dope. Gotta thank you for the love and support that you give it, keep it coming. We going up in jet speeds, interviews with the crews, making moves, let's see. It's a brand new world of NFTs. Join in Recruiting-ish podcast, yes please. Join in Recruiting-ish podcast, yes please. Metaintro does not give financial advice. Information provided by Metaintro is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. Always do your own research on the companies that you apply to and the opportunities that you invest in.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Recruiting-ish podcast. Before we get into the episode, here's a word from our sponsors.
Hey there, fellow podcast listeners. I'm Kevin Logan Jr., host of the Immutable Mindset podcast. If you're fascinated by Web3, blockchain, and disruptive technology, then you won't want to miss a show. Join me and co-host Adam Posner as we introduce you to an incredible lineup of successful entrepreneurs, builders, and industry veterans who share their insider knowledge, unique perspectives, and personal stories that will leave you inspired and craving more. Like Mike Isogawa, the CEO of Webacy, who shares her journey from being a Cirque du Soleil performer to a cybersecurity pioneer. Or Dave Schwed, COO of Halborn, who discusses the future of digital asset security and how the future of assets will be tokenized. We also break down complex topics into digestible bits, perfect for both experts and newcomers to the world of Web3. So if you're ready to stay ahead of the curve, subscribe to the Immutable Mindset podcast now, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Recruiting-ish podcast. It's Tuesday. We're here with an episode where we're talking all things hiring and working in Web3. I'm Alex, your crypto recruiter. I'm here with Brad for the Metaintro team. Say what's up, Brad.
What's going on, everyone?
And we've got a very special guest today, as you can see. G is the founder and CEO of Aurox, which is an innovative trading platform that launched in 2020. We'll include details of Aurox in the show notes so you can check them out and sign up for their platform. But something to note, they're integrated with over 50 exchanges. They've garnered a substantial user base and surpassed the 1 billion mark in trading volume. They've also got a token for their ecosystem that offers quite a lot of functionality. And G will be talking about the platform, his background, and about their team and plans for the future. G, welcome to the Recruiting-ish show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to get started.
Absolutely. Well, I know I gave a quick intro on you and the platform, but tell us a little bit about yourself and I guess lead us up to this new project you're working on.
Sure. So my family actually immigrated into the United States when I was 8 years old, originally born in Republic of Georgia. And I ended up getting started trying to make money online through online marketing, basically media buying, affiliate offers, etc. I was in high school. I think I was 13 at the time. And at that point, I started searching online. I didn't want to work a summer job in some, fast food place or a warehouse or whatever it was, earning pennies on the dollar. And I ended up going online, finding an online marketing forum, and that's where I actually discovered my business partners, the same ones that are my partners here at Aurox. And we started from affiliate marketing, lead gen, e-commerce, software as a service companies, and started rolling in money from our previous endeavors and to grow the next business bigger and bigger. And that's where Aurox really came in. So in 2020, or actually it was, 2016, my business partner was taking some of the money that we had made from e-commerce and investing into cryptocurrency. And he told me about it, and I started putting some money in there. And then we realized that there was a lot of data fragmentation. There were so many exchanges, so many, no one really knew what was going on back then. So we wanted to create a platform that was easier for traders, like what we were trying to do, and encompassed the entire cryptocurrency market and eliminated that struggle to trade and discover tokens. And being entrepreneurs, we thought, instead of investing in tokens, let's invest in ourselves. And we created the Aurox terminal over the next few years. So we self-funded the entire project. My partners and I have been together for over a decade at this point on various different projects. And we want Aurox to be the final one and grow it to a significant user base.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Myself being, it sounds like you're obviously a serial entrepreneur yourself, going from 13, selling, media spots. I can only imagine the experience and how exhilarating that must have been at 13 to do something like that. What was maybe the point that told you that this business was something different and that made you decide to kind of make the jump and say, let's go and formalize this as a company? Was it early on, or was there some point that made you make that decision?
Yeah, so there was two reasons. One, when we did other types of online marketing, it was always us driving traffic from Facebook, Google Ads, whatever it was. And if that traffic source died, the company basically started to die as well. There was definitely recurring customers and users, but going from, like, for example, on Facebook, we would spend, let's say, $5,000 and make $30,000 in revenue in a single day. But then when that traffic source would die out, or the ad didn't work, or whatever it might have been, all of a sudden you're only generating a couple $1,000s a day. And that huge drop ended up making it so it's not profitable anymore. So that entire experience of us previously to Aurox was always, you just have to be grinding on a daily basis. You stop and all of a sudden the business is dead. And when crypto came around, we thought that, let's just shift over to something where we can actually build a brand, something that I can look back at 10, 20, 30 years down the line, and I can have an actual steady job instead of waking up one day and having nothing. And because cryptocurrency was early at that stage, it was an easy opportunity for us to get in early, use the funds, the savings, and everything that we had, create the product, and establish a brand early on before everyone else had similar ideas.
That's super cool. And it's interesting. I don't remember who said it. It was probably like Peter Thiel or one of the founders guys or VC guys, but they said, you got to bet on the team, not always the product. So, in the venture world and kind of the entrepreneur world, right? Like, it doesn't always happen on the first try, but it sounds like you've got a good team. It sounds like you guys have kind of hit a stride with this. What is that like? How does that feel? Sometimes going from project may not work out. Do you lose steam? Like, how do you guys stay together and kind of build as you're moving to, one project to another, and now focusing on this as the long term?
Yeah, originally we were on and off. So we would work on projects together, and then we would, have our own project, our own company, and then come back together. So it wasn't always something that all three of us were interested in at that specific time. We were a specific company. And that allowed us to work together in the positives while avoiding potential failures. And because every company that I worked with has always generated a significant amount of profit and revenue and growth. Eventually it does fizzle out, and that's why we moved over to Aurox, but it was always successful, at least with them. And during the past 10 years, we kind of formed, they're essentially like my brothers in a way, since I've known them for so long. And now I can be as transparent. Like, if I get mad at them, I can be, I can say what's on my mind without being concerned about how they're going to react, and they feel the same way about me. So we have a very open dialogue, which a lot of new founders might not have. For example, this is from a movie, but it's kind of based on a real story with the Facebook. The original Zuckerberg's partner, he kind of got cut out, and they weren't really that transparent to one another at that early stage. But with Gia and Tara's, everything that I know, they know, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's great. Do you utilize that practice? Because you guys are so close, and if you've been a part of a team like that, that it's special. Even though maybe you get mad at each other, but it's definitely clear to everybody where you stand. Do you hold new, members to the team to that same, bar and threshold that, hey, you got to fit in here? And obviously it's hard to recreate years of camaraderie and working together, but, and maybe the broader question is, how do you integrate a new member, into the team? What are some of the best practices you utilize to kind of make that work with a team that's so close together?
Yeah, so we were actually discussing, scale, like, for the past 2-3 years, we've scaled up the development side significantly, which meant there was a lot more load on us as founders because we're managing the entire upper management. So we were discussing about starting to hire upper management positions, and in order to get them on the same page as us, incentivizing them aggressively with equity in the company. Because for example, if we hired a CMO, their goal is going to be the same goal we have, is growing the company as much as possible. And if we're not incentivizing them with some sort of skin in the game, some sort of metric that they can hit to grow as part of the company, then they might just be cashing checks and they might not care as much. So right now, being a small company, our goal is really hiring those upper management positions. It's going to feel part of the founders, essentially.
Gotcha. And I'm curious on like the equity side, and I guess like as you look at the company long term and kind of vision to some of the people joining the company, is it, an exit that you're looking for, maybe an acquisition, maybe a merger, going public? Like as you guys thought of Aurox as, 5-10 years from now, and the vision you tell, candidates when they're joining, what ideally does that look like? Out of those, I guess, couple options, or if there's others.
So funny story, we're actually planning on going public very soon. We actually filed our responses to the SEC recently, today actually. So about a year ago, some of the investors, that was the first time that we raised money. We raised $5 million in 2022 at the start of 2022. And they proposed a solution where instead of just being on this VC track where you're doing seed, Series A, B, C, D for decades, and giving up a lot of control and equity into the company, that we would utilize 5 million, build up the company even more, scale it up, and then get on a path to go public. There's not a lot of strict requirements after the SEC gives the stamp of approval in a way for your filing. There's not a lot of huge requirements to be a public company. You just have to meet a few requirements for the NYSE and NASDAQ, and you're ready to go. Even if you're not generating revenue, you can still go public. Now, the positives of that are a lot, actually. One of them is getting that upper management position hired, that someone that feels part of the company and gets the equity and everything. They have a potential liquidity event in the near future. The other positive is that being a public company, we can hire quicker because, again, you can utilize your shares and equity to the company to do it, as well as raising capital and debt. Public companies, since they're liquid, you can go to a bank, get a wire the next day for your shares, and you're not giving up control in the same way as you would through a VC path.
That's super interesting. I like your, going against the trend in that. I'm sure it's been an interesting experience, but it makes sense, those early investors, to have, a shorter roadmap to liquidity, as you said, as opposed to, down the line, hundreds of millions and billions, There's an old insurance ad where you don't know what your retirement fund is and you just keep on, throwing money at it. So I like it. You keep on talking about hiring these executives, and I honestly, in the market, I haven't heard this too much. So maybe if you'd like to share, what successes have you had in finding these candidates, and especially with your, very narrow focus that you're looking for, what types of, tools have you utilized or practices have you, found success and utilized to find these candidates?
To be honest, we're actually starting that process right now, so I'll know maybe in a few months. But
that's great. Then we'll use this as a jumping off point. What's your ideal candidate that you're looking for in an executive, that's going to be working at Aurox? And you obviously gave a great pathway for what from a monetary standpoint, the company's not looking to do in the next 12 to 24 months. What would an executive look like at your company?
Honestly, we don't pay attention to too much. We do, but not too much to like a resume or their background. We've hired developers that had maybe a couple years of experience, and they learned so quickly that they eclipsed developer and applicants that have been developing for 5 to 10 years. A lot of it just really comes to drive. We have had developers that have a lot of drive. They care about the project. They want to see it move forward. Even if it's for less than they would at a different company. So same thing goes for an executive. Like, I've never managed a public company. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I do have resources at hand. I have help, but I have the drive because I want to be public. I want to be the first public Web3 DeFi company, and I know that I'm taking that on, and I want to move forward. So when we're going to be hiring these executives and upper management, I want someone on that team that maybe not necessarily has experience in that field that much, but is going to learn quickly and is going to put in the hours and is going to make sure that the company is going to do well. We found that those type of individuals actually accomplish a lot more than the ones that are, in some cases, the ones that are more experienced, but are less motivated and less willing to put in the hours.
I'm always curious when it comes to, especially like trading or DeFi related projects as they're hiring, like how much of a degen do you need to be? Because again, I think the question we always get, there's a ton of Web 2 degens stuck in Web 2 trying to get to Web 3, but may not have worked there. Or on the side, they're like in every project, trading tokens, swapping, doing everything you can. But then also when they get into a project, they may be, again, too much of a degen. So like, what's your degen level? What does that look like as you kind of think about, just like core experience?
We actually hire strictly Web 2 developers. We actually did hire one Web 3 developer that had been in Web 3 for a while. And most of our developers, when we first hired them, they hadn't even traded cryptocurrency and never used like a trading platform before. It is a longer process because they have to learn some of the intricacies and figure out how the blockchain works and things like that. But from our experience, we've noticed that people from the Web 2 side just are in a lot of cases, just better developers overall. That's not to say they're not great Web3 developers, but the applicants we've interviewed haven't been as good. That could be for multiple reasons. For example, bigger companies are probably scooping up every single good Web3 developer out there and overpaying them and capturing that audience. And then who's remaining now is kind of on the lower end of the spectrum. But with ours, we've had a lot of success in just hiring Web2 developers, giving them the time and resources to learn, adjust, and become really good developers in Web3.
Against the grain again. I like it. I really, as a CTO and engineer myself, I appreciate people that are willing to just take them at their face value for their skill set. And that's, really where you will get the best out of everybody. It sounds like you've got a well-versed interview experience in history. Maybe give us a couple pet peeves that you have or, pitfalls where you're just like, a big red X on the resume and you said you don't look at it, but maybe your notepad of things that somebody might do in an interview that are just big no-nos for you.
Usually jumping from protocol to protocol. We had a few applicants that had 6-7 months experience across not across, but at 5 different protocols back to back to back. When it comes to developing actually smart contracts, it's kind of time consuming, and most people I don't know Solidity. I can read it, but I don't know Solidity. I tune enough to write it. So it takes a little while to kind of vet those candidates, and they might be working for a few months for you and then realize that they got probably nothing done, or they have to refactor it all the way from the start. So we had those applicants. We did try them out. We just said whatever they worked at some of the bigger protocols, to just give them a shot. We tried them out for a couple of months and realized that there was a reason why they only worked 6 to 7 months at the other projects. So that is definitely something that we pay attention to. Education and anything else, it really doesn't matter. Some of our developers went to college, some of them self-taught. I don't care. They're both great developers, or they're all great developers, and that's why we keep them on the team.
Yeah, that's big lightning bolt. That's I forget if it was Seinfeld or Chappelle that says this, but it was something along the lines of boredom is a real driver of creativity. And it's almost like, once you finally mastered a language, a protocol, something like that, then you can really start to, and you're just like, I can't, you might in your mind say, I can't do anything else. It forces you to push the envelope of what that technology can do, what the request is. And that's where it really, comes. So I like that answer a lot.
Yeah, we've had a lot of, the other thing is if whoever's listening, if you're trying to start your own startup or a company in Web3, be very picky about your first developer, because you can build a team around them. If you find a really good developer, even if you have to overpay them, someone that you can trust if you're not a developer yourself, try to find that one core developer that can analyze others' codes, give you their honest opinion, basically build that entire team around them. If you start from scratch with, you hire 5 developers right off the bat and you just hiring just to get the product started and everything else, you're going to run into issues. Not organization is going to be a little messy. You're not going to know who to trust, who's actually working, who's not working, who's good, who's not. And that's where we've been kind of lucky. So we had one core developer we started with. He's been great. And then we just started to branch out from there.
You brought up a good point on the trust side. Like, I think that's the hardest part of hiring any startup, right? Like you mentioned, you've got a trusted team, so you don't want to break that. You want to bring people in that match that. And especially on the trading side, in any market, but especially crypto in light of the last year, right? With smart contracts or user funds or accounts, like the trust thing is huge. So like how do you evaluate that? Like on the front end, is it networking, references? Like, have you guys, thought about how to like formalize, what Aurox's trust like level and bar is?
So initially we got lucky, honestly. We were making posts on, like, I made a post on Georgia's job website, and that developer was moving to Georgia. He discovered us, and we had him do like a code review and stuff, and he turned out great. And then over time built up that trust. With incoming developers, it's a lot more difficult. What we usually do is give them smaller tasks. It takes about a month or two where we're kind of in the analysis phase. So we give them smaller tasks, bug fixes, things like that, and then have the rest of the developers analyze that code like a hawk. If there's anything, and several of our developers previously had brought up issues with someone else, and turns out they were right. So building that initial layer, that's why I think that first developer is going to be the most important to making sure that your company is successful, because they're going to come into play later on. They're going to be analyzing the new developers that are coming in during that first few months and making sure that that new person is fit for your team. If that person says no, you kind of need to just move on. Honestly, if you trust that person and you build that initial layer, then they're without a doubt right. They've been right, at least in our case.
I will definitely second what G's saying. That is that it's a huge unlock. It's almost like a superpower to have that first engineer. And hiring, it's weird because, and I did this as my first time founding, I went and hired like 5 developers immediately. All were very talented, I'll say myself, but it was too much. You have an urgency potentially from investors that are like, a lot of them are going out, spend that money, not from a standpoint of at the club, but go and hire some talent. And it's so counterintuitive to do, but it is the right move. So please, founders, if you're listening to this, spend a little bit of time. That first hire, like you said it perfectly. They're going to be in those, architecture meetings, and if they're not, and you're re-architecting a service, let's say, 2 years down the road, the team's going to want to know, how is this architected? Why was it architected this way? And it's great to have a professional, a real architect, in that position. But as you can imagine, and I'm sure you'll attest to, they're hard to find. Yeah, it's hard to find. So spend some time. I agree. Tell us what's up, up and coming. You obviously talked about Aurox and the public aspirations to go public. From a project, an exchange standpoint, what's going on, especially even with your utility token? What's upcoming, on the roadmap for y'all?
Yeah, so right now we're actually last year we spent a lot of time and money to redesign our terminal, create a whole new UI. Initially, when we were self-funding it, we were just throwing, add this function, add that function, and it just became busy. The user experience became busy. So we spent about 6 months redesigning the entire UI from the ground up. We are in the process of now applying those designs to the terminal, but while we were doing that, we didn't want to just sit back and wait for the designers to finish. So we started working on Web3 non-custodial wallet. We actually released the browser version in December of last year. And we've been focusing on that while we're also focusing on redesigning the terminal and everything else. And with the non-custodial wallet, it honestly came to us in a way from our own experience, as well as how it could fit into our terminal too. I don't know if either of you all have used MetaMask before, but they're like the top of the industry. They capture like 99% of the industry as far as wallets go. And I got tired of using it. I was like, this is just ridiculous. Like, it just had so many issues. And I think I speak for probably majority of Web3 users when I say that. So we thought, we have all this data, we have all this information. We want to make a more cohesive terminal. Let's build out a Web3 wallet for both desktop and mobile. And we released that, and we've seen a really positive outlook from that side. We've improved the user experience, security, everything. It's a significant improvement and innovation above MetaMask. So right now we're focusing on marketing that, and then we're releasing a built-in decentralized terminal within the extension itself. So right now it's a compact view that the user can see, just like you would with MetaMask, but then there's going to be a button. When you click on it, it'll open up a new tab within the extension itself, and it's a locally hosted terminal that has decentralized assets, and you can interact with protocols and swap and trade, monitor your balances, everything. Now, the innovative aspect of that is the fact that it's locally hosted. Trading and everything can be done with a single click. There's no pop-ups, confirmations, any of those complex DeFi intricacies. They'll feel like a centralized exchange to you, but in reality, it's all decentralized. That is what we're excited about. We're going to release that in about 2, maybe 3 weeks from now. I think it will improve the DeFi experience significantly.
That's super cool. Yeah, I was looking at the trading platform. I haven't checked out the wallet yet, but it's definitely on my list today because I echo your statement. Nothing against MetaMask. They've done a lot, but it's almost like they stopped with what they have, and it's almost gotten clunkier and slower. So I agree with you on there's a spot to be filled in the market for just better experience. And as well, I mean, from a trading platform, there's all levels of people. So I think you guys are addressing the market where it's like, hey, entry level person could do this all the way up to most advanced trader. But I guess like customer feedback, consumer feedback, I know you guys have a couple different community channels like Discord and Twitter. How do you guys kind of build that community? Seems like there was also some self-funding that you offered to kind of customers. So talk us through like how you brought in the community into kind of building this product and its use.
Yeah, from early on, myself and my partners were really involved in the community. I was responding to questions myself. I was interacting with them. We were doing like YouTube lives where they could ask any question, just being extremely prominent in the community as much as I could. Back then I had a lot more time than I do now, but with the public stuff, it's been kind of a mess. But back then when I had a lot of time, I would go in there, message, if someone asked a question, I would message almost immediately answering their question and just being extremely, extremely interactive. It takes effort, and at the end of the day, you don't even want to see a text message from your family or anyone else for that matter. But it's worth the effort because these same users that were there 3 years ago, they're still using the platform today, even though it's a bear market. Those the same ones that were interacting and asking questions, and we were speaking to them over YouTube Live. Those same users still use the platform today on a daily basis. And that's what you really, at least on the Web3 side and DeFi, you really have to build that community early on and get those users to come along with the story of the company. And that's how we did it from the very start.
That's great. I got a question. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit because I think you obviously haven't done this in a while. But if you were to go, talking to a founder and you need to go find your first 100 users, what would you tell them how would you, what tools would they utilize, campaign, anything? How would you, tell somebody to go get their first 100 users?
On the Web2 side, it's relatively easy. I mean, for me, it's
Sure.
being a media buyer and everything. On the Web2 side, running Facebook ads is probably the easiest way you're going to acquire users. I mean, we ran probably millions and millions of dollars for e-commerce and affiliate marketing, and Facebook does such a great job at optimizing those ads to deliver you the best audience that you can. So you can easily get those 100 users. It might be more expensive if you're not experienced with it, but you can easily get that. Like you can, without a doubt, get it within the first month. On the Web3 side, and I guess on the finance side, even Twitter is probably going to be your best chance. The ads are more expensive overall. You're probably going to pay more per user, but you're definitely going to be able to acquire those users easily. I'm a huge fan of media buying. I mean, that's what we did for years. So I really suggest anyone that's trying to promote their product, newsletter, whatever it might be, media buying is going to be the easiest way that you're going to get those users.
I'm always curious when it comes to community channels. Like my thoughts on Discord are probably different than most on this call. I know Brad and Metaintro, they've cranked out such a cool and innovative community. Some Discords are great, some are just weird, right? Like what's your thought on that space in terms of like interacting with community, and like, is Discord is that the final one, or do you use another one, see another one kind of coming in its place, kind of similar to MetaMask?
Actually, if you're getting started, Telegram is probably going to be easier. When you just have a few hundred users, it's just so much easier to just manage it all because you don't have to deal with like 20 different channels, and then someone messages in one channel and you have to check that one and then that one and that one. The conversation flows better in a single channel, and because there's less users, it looks more active. So more people are willing to engage with it. We did that at the start. Then we shifted over to Discord, and I agree that Discord is, unless you're in there and using it pretty often, it can get a little messy as well. And that's why at this point I just pop in from time to time, but we had to actually like hire people to manage it. It became pretty difficult. As far as a messaging platform, I mean, I don't know if Slack would ever do this and add like more company community channels, but I prefer Slack personally over Discord. And I think if they do, they will definitely give Discord a run for their money.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think too, and I'm sure you've probably seen this. Working on a remote sounds like dispersed team, tough to connect, right? So it's not only connecting with the community. How do you guys stay connected as a team as you grow?
Yeah, well, I'm up about 24 hours a day, so we have developers from all over the world. It's what we're used to. Even when we were doing media buying e-commerce, we had developers everywhere, staff everywhere. So usually, during the day, in the morning and the afternoon, I'm managing the United States side, the public, attorneys, I don't know, customer support, everything else, and then towards the end of the night, I get a little few hour break between, 8 and 10 or 11. That's when the developers wake up. Usually if they have a question, I interact with them. But overall, with the non-USA side, it's really about comes down to sending a schedule, usually early in the morning, let's say like Monday or Tuesday calls, answering everything. That way, during the night, they're not going to have any questions, or if they do, it's just very minor things that you can answer.
Set the schedule early in the week. I like that. And my goodness, my heart goes out to double time zone founders. It's not, it's not easy. And it's, especially those late nights, it's stressful when you're like, if I don't, give the directives, if I don't set the schedule, you're losing time. So I hear you. Any cool partnerships coming up for y'all that you wanted to announce that you're excited about, that is really going to broaden the horizons of your exchange and all the products y'all have?
I can't announce it yet, but we do have a few things coming soon. We've actually been, when we were doing our CF round just recently, we had to kind of pull back on our marketing temporarily, not to have any type of SEC issue. And we just gathered up a bunch of partnerships during that time for like 3-month period. We announced a bunch of them last week with Cryptos URUS, Altcoin Daily, some of the biggest influencers and marketers out there. We also announced something with Avalanche, and then we have a few other ones that are coming out over the next, 30 days or so. But yeah, there'll be really good partnerships to help not only our products, but for other users to discover them.
Well, it definitely sounds like you're busy. I can see why you're up 24 hours a day between managing the team, the partnerships, obviously the IPO readiness. It sounds exciting, but a little stressful. Well, cool. Well, in terms of like Aurox, the platform, the website, we'll link that info below. We'll obviously link G's information, but I mean, to kind of wrap it up, what's anything you want to leave the audience with, or how do they get in touch with you as these roles launch, and how can they stay updated with Aurox's products and success?
Yeah, sure. I can leave a few details. If you're listening and you're getting involved or you wanted to get involved in Web3 right now, honestly, this is probably going to be the best time if you can acquire the funding for it, whether it's self-funded or VC or whatever it might be. Usually times like these, you get better pick of a pool of candidates because a lot of companies downscaled. There's just more applicants. There can be more applicants in the market at this point versus in a bull market. Good luck. So getting those applicants, getting that company set up and hitting the ground running during a bear market is probably going to be your best opportunity to be successful. A lot of the companies, Uniswap, Compound, all of these companies developed a lot in the bull market, of the last bull market, and then came out running, and now they're the biggest companies in crypto. So yeah, I would recommend anyone that's trying to get in Web3 is to start a company, to try to do it now before it gets into the bull market, and then you're going to have a much harder time actually creating a product. As far as contacting me, I don't use LinkedIn. I do have a LinkedIn. I don't use it that often, but you can definitely join our Discord. There's some of our staff members are in there. Feel free to tag them, say that they want to speak to me, and then they'll get to me within a few minutes, and I'll be able to interact with y'all. So Discord is probably the best way to find me, and if anyone wants to, I'd love to speak with them.
I love it. I'll put you on the spot again. What's your favorite role you're hiring for that you're looking forward to? Either it's going to reduce your stress and hopefully let you go to bed at US time, or that you're just excited to work with.
Yeah, we're trying to. One of the things in Web3 is you have a very split audience. You have the audience that has kind of 90% of them don't have a lot of funds, and then you have the 10% that has a lot of funds. So we're trying to hire, hopefully soon, someone that can target that 10% one-on-one. Call them, email them, bug them, go to their house, knock on their door, break it down, and try to get those 10% to shift over to our platform.
Very interesting.
With whatever means necessary.
What is that person's title?
I have no clue.
My guess would be, what do they call them? Ultra high net worth individual hunter, it seems like.
Yeah. But you're talking about crypto whales sometimes, and they're
whale hunter.
I mean, maybe that is whale hunter, Captain Ahab. That's what they are.
Yeah, Chief Whale Officer, something along those lines.
I like that. I might steal that one.
It's free to use. Free to use. Well, cool, G. Well, or go ahead, Brad.
No, I was going to say I really enjoyed the conversation. I'm excited to check out the decks a little bit more. You've got some exciting product launches coming up. Obviously, the company's hiring at a rapid pace. That's always a great sign for health for a company. Congrats on all your success. It's been great to learn a little bit about yourself and your background. I'm sad you're not doing any more media buying. If you have an agency on the side, I'll definitely hire you.
Yeah, I know. It's looking back, because with media buying, it was like you turn the switch on, you're making profit. every single time.
Yeah.
Here we're building a brain, so it takes longer. It's like, when do we get to that point when you just switch when you flip the switch and then you can start kind of seeing the results of your progress? That's the most difficult part, honestly.
Very hard.
Well, cool. Well, we'll link everything in the show notes. To anybody listening, check out Aurox if you're looking to trade, as well as on the wallet side. Sounds like they got some cool products there. Maybe we'll even get a recruiting-ish referral link. Who knows? Maybe we'll find those whales for you, or they might be listening right now. But thank you again, G. Thank you again for those listening to the Recruiting-ish podcast. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye, everyone.